At 8:59 hours on February 19th, 1945, Sergeant Darrell Cole of the 23rd Marines, 4th Marine Division, stepped onto the black volcanic sand of Iwo Jima's eastern beaches. Cole's machine gun section had trained for amphibious assault since 1943. Standard doctrine called for establishing a beachhead, then advancing inland behind preparatory naval bombardment that would neutralize enemy positions. The Navy had shelled Iwo Jima for 3 days. Intelligence estimated the island held 13,000 Japanese defenders in conventional fortifications. For 20 minutes, nothing happened. No artillery, no machine gun fire, no mortar rounds. Marines advanced 400 yards inland across open ground. Then the island came alive. Fire erupted from positions the Navy had never seen. Hidden artillery, concealed machine guns, mortars zeroed on pre-registered kill zones. Within the first hour, American casualties exceeded 2,400 men. The beach turned into what survivors called the worst killing ground in Marine Corps history. This pattern repeated itself across every yard of Iwo Jima for 36 days. Positions that appeared destroyed would resume firing. Bunkers hit by naval shells remained operational. Artillery barrages that should have eliminated resistance had no visible effect. The problem was not American firepower. American forces had more naval guns, more aircraft, and more artillery than any Pacific operation to date. The problem was that conventional assault doctrine, refined through 3 years of island-hopping campaigns, had encountered something fundamentally different. Lieutenant General Tadamichi Kuribayashi, commander of Japanese forces on Iwo Jima, had rebuilt the rules of island defense. Overcoming Kuribayashi's defense required solving 3 problems that American forces had never faced simultaneously. First, you had to find the enemy. Kuribayashi had constructed over 11 miles of tunnels connecting more than 1,500 rooms and fighting positions. Fortifications were built into natural volcanic rock and covered with sand. Observation from sea or air revealed nothing. Traditional reconnaissance identified less than 10% of Japanese positions before the assault. Second, you had to reach the enemy. Japanese positions featured interlocking fields of fire. Every approach was covered by multiple weapons from multiple directions. Advancing infantry had to cross kill zones with no cover on volcanic sand that provided no traction. Men sank to their ankles. Vehicles bogged down. Third, you had to destroy the enemy in place. Japanese positions were constructed from reinforced concrete up to 4 feet thick, buried under volcanic rock and earth. Naval shells and aerial bombs often detonated on the surface without penetrating. Standard demolitions required approaching within feet of firing positions. The tactical response that eventually succeeded on Iwo Jima had evolved through 2 years of Pacific combat, but its systematic integration began at the Marine Corps schools in Quantico, Virginia, and was refined at Camp Pendleton, California, in 1944. Marine Corps planners recognized after Tarawa in November 1943 that future Pacific operations would face increasingly sophisticated Japanese defenses. Colonel Victor Krulak and other doctrine developers emphasized what they called combined arms assault teams, tanks, infantry, engineers, and demolition specialists operating as integrated units. The concept was not complex. The execution required precise coordination under fire. The assault team system combined 4 elements that had previously operated separately. The first element was armor. M4 Sherman tanks equipped with 75mm guns provided mobile direct fire support. On Iwo Jima, Marines employed both standard Shermans and M4A3R3 flame tanks carrying 300 gallons of napalm-thickened fuel with a range of 80 yards. The second element was infantry. Riflemen provided close protection for tanks against Japanese soldiers carrying magnetic mines and satchel charges. Without infantry support, tanks survived an average of 9 minutes in combat on Iwo Jima. The third element was engineer support. Combat engineers carried demolitions, Bangalore torpedoes for clearing obstacles, and portable flamethrowers. The M2-2 portable flamethrower weighed 68 pounds and projected flame 40 yards. The fourth element, the one that made reduction of fortified positions possible, was coordination. Each team operated with a tank communicating by external telephone to infantry, who directed fire onto specific apertures while engineers approached from blind angles. The process was methodical. The tank suppressed the position. Infantry identified firing apertures. Engineers approached with demolitions or flamethrowers. Time to reduce a single bunker averaged 15 to 30 minutes. On Iwo Jima, Marines faced over 800 major fortified positions. On February 23, 1945, elements of the 21st Marines attacked Japanese positions in the area called the Meat Grinder, a complex of mutually supporting fortifications centered on Hill 382. The hill contained over 40 interconnected positions. Captain Robert Dunlap led a tank infantry assault team against a concrete blockhouse covering the main approach. His Sherman fired 17 rounds into the position's aperture at ranges under 50 yards while infantry suppressed flanking positions. Engineers crawled forward with shaped charges. The blockhouse fell after 40 minutes of continuous engagement. The following day, the same team destroyed 3 additional positions using identical methods. Each assault required close coordination and exposed every team member to direct fire. On March 8th, near Cushman's Pocket, First Lieutenant Harry Martin coordinated an assault involving 4 tanks and 60 infantry against a ridge containing an estimated 12 firing positions. The action lasted 6 hours. Marines reduced each position individually, working from the flanks, with tanks providing base of fire while engineers delivered demolitions. The ridge fell. American casualties in that single action exceeded 20 men. Japanese doctrine emphasized defense to the death. Kuribayashi's innovation was not in spirit but in method. His tactical instructions, captured after the battle, emphasized allowing Americans to land without opposition, drawing them inland, then engaging from concealed positions with interlocking fire. Kuribayashi had studied American tactics in the Marianas and recognized that naval bombardment was effective only against visible targets. His response was simple: make nothing visible. Japanese prisoners, the few taken alive, reported that American tank infantry coordination was more effective than any weapon system they faced. A captured Japanese warrant officer stated that the flame tanks were the most terrifying weapon the Americans possessed. Kuribayashi himself, in a message to Imperial headquarters on March 15th, reported that American assault methods had systematically reduced positions his engineers had designed to withstand bombardment. His final communication on March 23rd acknowledged that organized resistance was no longer possible. The scale of reduction operations on Iwo Jima exceeded any previous Pacific battle. Marines employed over 100 tanks, of which 63 were destroyed or disabled. Engineers expended more than 550 tons of demolitions. Flamethrower fuel consumption exceeded 10,000 gallons. American forces suffered 6,821 killed and 19,217 wounded. Of approximately 21,000 Japanese defenders, only 216 were captured. The remainder died in their positions. The 36-day battle consumed more ammunition per square mile than any engagement in Marine Corps history. The assault team doctrine refined on Iwo Jima became the foundation for modern combined arms tactics. The integration of armor, infantry, and engineer support into coordinated teams operating at squad and platoon level remains standard military practice. Every modern infantry manual includes procedures for fortification reduction derived from Pacific experience. The principle that no single arm can succeed alone against prepared defenses was validated at the cost of 26,000 American casualties. The tank infantry telephone system developed for Pacific operations evolved into modern intercom systems connecting vehicle crews with dismounted infantry. Flame weapons, though later restricted by international convention, demonstrated the effectiveness of incendiary systems against fortified positions. The Marines who made the system work received little individual recognition. The tank crews who drove into Japanese fire, the engineers who crawled toward bunker apertures with demolition charges, the infantrymen who protected both appear in few histories. 27 Medals of Honor were awarded for actions on Iwo Jima, more than any other single battle in American history. Most recipients were killed, earning them. The majority performed acts consistent with assault team doctrine, approaching fortified positions to deliver decisive weapons at close range. Their methods were not heroic improvisation. They were trained, rehearsed, coordinated tactics executed under conditions that killed nearly 1/3 of the attacking force. The battle for Iwo Jima demonstrated that courage alone could not overcome prepared defenses. Victory required systematic integration of weapons, tactics, and training into coordinated methods that could be executed under fire. The Marines who developed and employed these methods transformed amphibious warfare. This channel shares forgotten stories from World War II, stories of innovation and sacrifice that shaped the world we live in today. If you found this valuable, consider liking this video to help others discover these histories. Subscribe to see more accounts of the battles that decided the war. Leave a comment telling us where you are watching from. Thank you for watching, and thank you for keeping history alive.